what the Selenium is all about now, because most of the companies are discussing about Selenium and why they are talking about Selenium. What is the reason behind it? Let me tell you one of the main reason, or you can say the main objective why Selenium. The Selenium is open source and free. You do not require to buy license for the Selenium. And as you do not require to buy, it's available for everyone, all the companies, all the types of developers, even the students, learners, whoever would like to use it. So one thing is like, why? It is open source and it is free. So open source means here it is available on the GitHub also. You can customize it or some of the API here now. And you can be a part of development team also. Now this is the main tool available for web automation testing. I'm not just saying the automation testing, because here the focus is web automation testing. Now most of the company, they are having e-commerce applications, or you can say the some applications which are related to businesses. Now all these applications, whichever you are developing, for all that automation testing is the need. Why? We need to check how the each and every element of the web is working or not, whether it is functioning or not, we need to check it. So how to check each and every element of the web application, how to make sure that all the features of web applications are running or not. For that, here we are learning Selenium, which is freely available. Now, how does the Selenium help us? Selenium helps us for many things, like it helps for validating the web applications. Also, it helps to test it on various browsers and various platforms. That is very, very important to know. Like, it is not just for specific device or specific applications. It is widely available for all the types of browsers and also available for all the types of platform now. Now, when you say all the types of platform, what does it mean? Here means it could be a Windows-based operating system, could be a Linux-based operating system, could be Mac-based operating system. So it doesn't matter which platform you're talking about or which device you're talking about. Not only the desktop devices or laptop devices, you can test also mobile application devices. And that's the beauty about this Selenium now. You're getting something free and allows you to testing on all the devices, as well as on all the browsers, as well as on the, you can say, all the types of operating system. And that's why the Selenium is becoming popular in most of the languages. I'm not talking about just one language here. I'm talking about most of the language, not only the languages, also in the browser now. Why I'm saying also in the browser, that also you'll come to know very soon. Now, before you dive into the Selenium browser or Selenium Webdriver, let us have some components. What are the Selenium components? What are there? Which are the 4 components are there in the Selenium? The one of the component which is freely available, and it is available along with the browser also. That also we are going to check it, and that is nothing but the Selenium IDE. So you can also install this Selenium IDE as a plugin on the browser. And this browser, we are going to discuss in more detail about it, that you can have on the Firefox or you can have on the Chrome, which are the most popular browsers. So now this is something which we'll be discussing in detail, what the Selenium IDE is all about. Then the Selenium remote control component. Now, let me tell you Selenium remote control components, or you can, this is a remote control things where it is a server now. It's a web server. Remote, you are going to test through certain web server. Now we'll understand what exactly RC, and now it is deprecated. That also you'll know like what the Selenium RC is all about and why it is deprecated in the new version of the Selenium, because it is already added in the Selenium Webdriver now. Now, the next component, which is our main component of today's session, and that is Selenium Webdriver. We understand the benefit of Selenium Webdriver, and here we'll be using the Python-based Selenium Webdriver. Next thing is we have a Selenium Grid. We'll understand what exactly the Selenium Grid is. When to use a Selenium Grid? Is it a necessary for us? So that also will understand the benefits, and when all these things we'll understand in this session itself. So firstly, understand the concept part, and then we'll have some hands-on part of the Selenium now. Now, how the Selenium components are organized. So this is the way the Selenium components, Selenium suites include the Selenium IDE, Selenium RC. Now it is merged into Selenium 2 version also, and the latest version, it is already available now. So you do not require to install its separate component. And also, as I said, our major thing is like Selenium Webdriver, which has a various version, and we are working on the latest version now, Selenium 3 also. So we'll see that what exactly, and the Selenium Grid. Now, who is the person behind this? Obviously, we should know at least the person who has developed this Selenium now. The person who started the development as an open source platform is Jason Huggins in 2004. And he was working as an engineer in a ThoughtWorks. Firstly, the name was not the Selenium and all. It was just like a Selenium core component, like the name was JavaScript runner. But then gradually, obviously, like there is a history behind it. I'm not covering the detailed history here, but yes, this is the way it started, and it started from the 2004 itself. Now, first thing first. Now, what is that? What is the Selenium IDE is all about? And let me tell you, this is the IDE which is available along with the browser. It's a browser plugin. IDE is what? Integrated development environment. Most of the times, you see like there are few developers are available. Now we don't have developer now. This is our requirement. Like now we want to test the website, but don't have developer. What should we do now in that case? So Selenium has created one IDE for you. In case you do not have development skill, no problem. You can go for the Selenium IDE and still test your website. May not be in the depth, but then yes, a lot of things can be tested, and also the test report can be generated. This is all. You can try it out. Just Google the Selenium IDE on your browser and see, install the plugin and just use it. It is just playing. It's so easy, and you'll come to know like that if you try to use it, maybe I will show the demo later, not now, but then let me tell you, this is the very, very easy tool to start with. Having a basic knowledge, let's say you do not have the more knowledge about Selenium and you do not have the development knowledge, let's say you don't have knowledge about, let's say, some languages like Java or the Python or any other languages, my recommendation for those will be go for the Selenium IDE then. Because with the help of Selenium IDE also, you can also automate, you can also do some testing part of your web component. So we'll understand the benefits and the limitations which are there for the Selenium IDE. So what we can do with the help of Selenium and what we cannot do, that we need to understand then. As I said, Selenium IDE is the simplest framework to start with. You can have the recording of whatever the testing you have done manually. Let's say you did a manually one complete testing, and then that recording will be done and you can play with them. So how does here there's no programming, but then yes, what is there? Whatever, you should have the manual testing skill here. At least you should know the testing means. So if you have the manual testing skill, you can go for the Selenium IDE also. So it has a playback operation available on the Chrome and the Firefox browser, and do not require to have the programming skill here. So no programming feature available in the Selenium IDE. So now, what are the benefits of Selenium IDE? Firstly, as I said, that it is very easy to install. You can just download and install as a Selenium IDE for the Chrome browser or for the Firefox, whichever your favorite browser is all about. Then second thing is it has a built-in test result report module available. So you do not require to install any third. It is already there along with the Selenium IDE, and no programming experience is required as already discussed. It allows you to create and execute the test cases using this browser, as I said, that is the Firefox and the Chrome. Easy to record test script. User can edit the test script. There is a customization, manually you can edit it, and user can also create a test suite here. So these are the benefit of the Selenium IDE. Again, recommending you to go for it, try it out. In case you are finding some challenges, I'm here to help you out then. Then, what are the limitations of the Selenium IDE? Yes, we should know that. That is very important, because then why all the developers, all the companies are not going for the Selenium IDE then? There should be some reason behind it. Obviously, there are certain limitations to understand that it doesn't have the support for iteration statement. It doesn't have support for conditional statement, doesn't have support for error handling, no support for the database testing, available only for these two browsers, which are your favorite one, that is the Firefox and the Chrome, and doesn't generate a detailed test report summary. So these are the limitations, and obviously, like as I say, like when your company is a big company and you have the lot many web component and you like to test each and everything, then definitely we require to go for some other Selenium component that also we'll be discussing. So I hope you understood what the Selenium IDE is all about, the benefits and the limitation now. Now we're going to understand the second component of the Selenium here. And what is the Selenium second component here? The second component is Selenium remote control component, that is RC here. So let us have brief idea, because we should know like this is already included in other ID like as the third component, but then we should know because it's a past and it was used previously, and maybe some company may be using this Selenium RC component in the old maybe you can say the legacy application, but latest Selenium you don't have the Selenium RC now. But in the legacy application, Selenium RC is already available. Because why? Because now it is deprecated. Officially, there is no more components as a Selenium RC in the new version. Older version, you may get it. So again, it is for the web application testing, supporting the programming using the remote control here, support multiple browser. It also supports the multiple operating system, and it's like a middleman between the Selenium commands and the browser here. You should have some programming skill in this case, in the case of Selenium remote control. It is not like Selenium IDE where anybody can start and work. No, here you need to have some programming skills and should know how to configure the Selenium RC server, and then only you can have the testing about the various Selenium various web component also. So what are the benefits here? Again, have a quick look at the benefits here. The cross-browser and the cross-platform support is there. Can perform looping and conditional operation better than IDE in that case. Can support data-driven testing also. Has a mature and the complete API libraries available. Can readily support new browser, and it has a faster execution than the IDE. So that's a benefit of RC component here, or you can say remote control component of the Selenium IDE. So now what are the limitations of Selenium IDE? Let me tell you that also. So here the installation is obviously more complicated than what we saw in the previous one, that is the Selenium IDE. Must have programming knowledge in this case. As I say in the previous case, like Selenium IDE may not have the programming skill. Just having the manual automation skill can go for the Selenium IDE. But here when you are going for the RC component, programming skill is needed. Then need to have Selenium RC server to be running here in this case, then only you can do the automation testing. So you need to make sure that server is running. Like in the case of database server, you need to have database server running, then only you can have database API. The same way here now. It also has an API which contains the redundant and confusing commands. These are certain limitations again. Browser interaction is a little bit less realistic and inconsistent result, and uses JavaScript only. So it is something like now, as I say, like getting connected to the Webdriver now. So that's why I say like it's slower execution time than the Webdriver. So the next component we'll be seeing, and here the most important component here we are going to invest our most of our time, and that is on Selenium Webdriver. Now I hope you understood the three components of the Selenium here. And now this is the most important, actually two components we have seen, that this is the third component now, and the fourth one also we'll see, that is about the Selenium Grid. So what we saw in the first two components, what are the limitations were there, how we can overcome in the third component, that is very, very important for us to know. So this is the most important component, that is the Selenium Webdriver. Let me do in this particular workshop, here I'm giving you the brief about the Selenium Webdriver, but the next workshop I'll be going in little bit of depth of the Selenium Webdriver. What brief have I understanding here? Here we are going to understand what is the Selenium Webdriver is all about. Again, as I say, this is for the web application testing. So this is one of the most popular and demanding web application testing tool. It has a simple architecture compared to, if I had to compare with the previous component RC, it has a simple component then, and it is easy to understand and use also. So this is why this is why we should go for the Selenium WebDriver, and I'll tell you like even how to do hands-on using the Python Selenium WebDriver. Let me know here you are going to understand the lots of benefit of Selenium WebDrivers are there. So what are the benefits of Selenium WebDriver? That also we are going to understand. The architecture is very simple. Having the Selenium client installed on your machine, you have the browser. Yes, you have the browser, and you should have the driver for that. And using the driver, you can connect to the web server also. So all these things we are going to see in the case of the Selenium WebDriver practically also. So what the architecture include? It includes the well-designed object-oriented API, because we have written the Python API in this case, and they are object-oriented. You are going to use this API. Let me do this WebDriver API. We are going to use it, and they are very easy to use as long as you have the knowledge about the particular language here. But yes, here there is a need of programming skill now. Like when I say the first time, when I say Selenium IDE, that time say, okay, not to have programming skill is fine. But when you are going for the Selenium WebDriver, you need to have programming skill now. What programming skill? Now here I'm going to use, obviously it support the multiple programming language as per your comfort level. You could go for Java, you could go for some C# or some other languages, but my favorite language here, or those who are from the Python side, they can go for the Python scripting itself, because now Python is supporting this Selenium WebDriver, and it is very easy to use in the Python. It is object-oriented scripting language, and with the help of object-oriented scripting language, it is very easy to use this API. It is developed for automating the web applications, and this Python is open source. Let me know now here there is a plus point. One thing is Python is open source language. Selenium is also open source now. You have both the things free available. That's another benefit, right? So here you can think about to go for the both free versions. Python as a free version, Selenium as a free version, and then start working for automation testing or testing your web application using both now. It has already overcome many more. What are the limitations are there for the previous component, what we saw already overcome in the Selenium WebDriver. So we are going to understand now this in more detail. It allows you to not only automate the web application, but also mobile application testing processes now. So those guys who like to test their web application on the mobile interface, mobile platform, go for the Selenium WebDrivers. So this will help you a lot. Obviously, you need to have some programming skill in this case. It is faster than Selenium RC component. We just saw that previous to this, that what the RC component is, and it is a little bit complex also. Now in this case, Selenium WebDriver directly talk to the browser and work on the, ask you, okay, now if you want to open what? You want to open the site, which site you want to open? You are going to see practically how you are going to open it, how you are going to access the various component, how you are going to access the various element. So how do you access? So all these things we have to understand in the case of Selenium WebDriver only. It has a very good APIs, more concise than the Selenium RC also. So the benefits, there are lots of benefits, but some of the benefit here, simple for installations, communicate directly to browser now, faster execution time, simple installation as compared to the previous component, that is a RC component, you can say. And yes, there are certain limitations. We should know like what are the limitations. Installation is, if you have to compare with the IDE, yes, it is a little bit complex if you have to compare with the IDE. But if I have to compare with the RC component, the Selenium WebDriver installation is pretty easy. That way you can go for the Selenium WebDriver. But again, here, as I said previously, here you require the programming skill, right? So this is very important that you should first have some programming skill. Could be a Python, as I'm recommending here, because it's open source and it is object oriented, high level scripting language. So if you're having that Python skill here, you will also able to see the various hands-on session in this workshop as well as in the next workshop, where you will see like using the Python API, you can test your web application quickly. So it supports the various browsers, and the browser drivers should be compatible in this case. Again, because if it is not compatible, you have to look for it, and there is a solution available. Let me tell you, whenever I'm installing the the Selenium new installation is done, I had to check every time the browser, which version of browser I'm using. Am I using the Chrome? Then which version of Chrome I'm using? Because I need to check the compatibility of that driver with the browser. Because most of the times what happens, browser is getting updated, automatically getting updated, and you, let's say, downloaded some the old version of the, let's say you did not update your driver, then in that case, when you are trying to run your script, it won't work. So we have to be very careful in this case. You have to check which version of your driver you're using, which version of your browser you're using. Based on that, you should be installing the component. Then this is the the fourth component. We saw the three components, some benefits, limitation, but we should know exactly that what the Selenium Grid is all about now. So first three component, I hope you understood. Like, we saw what the Selenium IDE is all about. Second, we saw about the Selenium RC component, means what, and then we saw the benefits and all those things, benefits and limitation of this component. And this is very important because this is the fourth and the most important component, and we should know when to go for Selenium Grid component now. Now here, let me tell you, this is the component which is for running the automation test on multiple browser across multiple operating systems simultaneously. So if you want to do the automation testing on not only, since here there's a parallel execution, the Selenium Grid is for the parallel execution. Now you want to have a multiple test cases, multiple test suite at the same time. So a lot of testing you're doing. It's not just like one test at a one time, not like that. You want to do parallel execution on multiple server. So here you require to have the Selenium Grid in that case. So you require to have that kind of setup where you can do that automation test at a large scale. So let me tell you, this is like for the parallel testing. It supports the parallel testing. Use only for the text execution. It has a high speed for the test suite complete. Because if you, as I say, this is for testing multiple browser and the different testing you want to do it at simultaneously, then go for the Selenium Grid. Mostly big companies, they may have their testing on the multiple portals. They want to do it at a multiple server also. So in that case, obviously you can go for the Selenium Grid. So this is for testing many components at the same time. Testing, so is what you say is for the parallel execution. Now here I'm giving you the idea or giving you the some input like when to use Selenium Grid. See, if you are the individual developer and you are going for the testing one by one and you are the student, I will not ask you to go for the Selenium Grid as a student. You can learn it, but you may not require to go for the Selenium Grid as in the initial stage. Later stage you may go for because that's something your project requirement is. But let me tell you now here when to use a Selenium Grid. So Selenium Grid is useful to check the compatibility of application on wide range of browsers and the devices and the platform. So you want to have multiple browsers, multiple platform at the same time. If you want to go for it, then go for the Selenium Grid now. Next thing is, if you want to save your execution time as well as of the specifically the test suite, like what test suite, because in the previous workshop we already discussed about what the test suite means. Test suite include various test cases as well as the test suite. So it's a very big component. So at the same time, you're running the various functional testing now. So many functions you're trying to execute and testing at the same time. There I say, like, if you are trying to test your various test suite, then go for the Selenium Grid now. For example, so how it is beneficial, so you can set up the Selenium Grid to run 5 tests at the same time. You can also finish the execution time 5 times faster than the previous whatever the Selenium component we saw. So this is something to improve the performance and doing something parallelly. Here, this is what the Selenium is all about. So it supports what? It supports the various operating systems like Windows, Macintosh, Linux, and also the various browsers, Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, and many more other. And also, it has a support for the various programming language, as I said previously. Support for the Java, C#, .NET, Perl, Python, Ruby, and many more. So many more languages. So it is not like necessary or mandatory that to use the Selenium WebDriver or Selenium component, you need to learn something new skill. If you are expert in some language like PHP or Java or some other language, there also definitely you can go for the Selenium here. It supports various testing framework which is there in all the languages. Last time we saw what the unit testing is. In the Python we'll be using the unit testing, but yes, in other languages like C#.NET you may use a NUnit, in Java JUnit or TestNG, in PHP Behat, Main, but in the Python we are using unit testing and the PyUnit here. So what are the advantages of Selenium here now? Obviously there are several advantages. I already told you and already discussed this, that Selenium is open source software. So obviously as it is open source, freely available, no need to buy any license for that, and also support multiple programming languages. Now when you say multiple programming language, as I just now say that it allows you to go for your choice language. Not like necessary that you should be going for the specific language, although I will recommend Python, but yes, it supports other programming language also. Support for the multiple operating system, support for the multiple browser, also allows you to go for the parallel testing, and that's what the benefit of the Selenium here now. So I hope you got like the benefits of Selenium, and I will recommend all of you to go for and install the Selenium IDE, as well as you can try for the Selenium Webdriver. I'll be telling like even how to install the Selenium Webdriver here. So that we will see in the hands-on part. Now, what are certain limitations of the Selenium here? Now, let me tell you here, those guys who are joining here for Selenium and they come up with the expectation, is it for the desktop application? Answer is no. I'm not here suggesting for desktop application here, not for the something which are GUI based application, which are desktop based application. It is more, it is specifically, I'm again saying like it is for the web based application. Certain limitation, it has a little bit difficult to test the image related applications here. Now let's say you want to go for the image related application, your Selenium may not be the right tool for that. It's a bit difficult to test the image related application, and it doesn't have the built-in report generation as a component. You may require to install some third-party report generation component for that, and doesn't test the CAPTCHA and the barcode readers here. So in case you would like to test some you know, like the how important is the security part here. So if you want to test it, so you will not able to do using the Selenium component here. No vendor technical support. This is another very important limitation, or you most of you guys like why some of the companies are not going for the Selenium is only because they are not getting the technical support. There's no you can say someone who can say, father, to help you out here, or some brother, okay, now this is my company and this is my product. No, this is something for everyone. You need to learn, you need to build the skills. There's no one particular company to support you. Yes, you may have, you can go for the documents which are available. You need to browse it, you have to learn it, and then use all this component here. So this is very important to really like, okay, here if you are going for some paid version, yes, you get the support from the paid company, the companies who is from whom like buying the software, you can go for it. Then should have programming skill. Yes, obviously here if you want to go for the Selenium, specifically the WebDriver recommended, even for the grid and all, what are the three components you saw, the programming skill is required in all that case. So some of the guys who join here in this particular workshop, they may be wondering like, okay, now I am from the QTP background. It's another testing tools and one of the popular tool again. So what are the advantage of Selenium over the QTP? So let me give the brief, because although this is not my agenda for about QTP is not my agenda, but to tell you like, okay, if you are from the QTP background, I would like to tell you like what are the advantages of Selenium are there over the QTP now. So let us see that first. I told you here that's the first thing first and very important, and that is Selenium is open source and freely available. Now when you say Selenium is open source and freely available, obviously the choice is yours now, whether to go for the paid version or whether to go for the free version. But QTP is also, but QTP is a commercial now. So if you want to have certain application to be tested, you want certain technical support, vendor support, go for the QTP then. Highly extensible. Selenium is highly extensible. You can connect to whichever the browser, whichever programming language. Very good benefit, like you can say, and it has certain limitation in the case of QTP here. Run tests on multiple browser here in the case of Selenium, but if you go for the QTP, it run the test in the certain browsers like Firefox, Internet Explorer, Chromes and all. So there are certain browsers where QTP is running efficiently. Here it supports multiple operating system. Now let me tell you, this is the most important feature, this is the most important benefit, because nowadays when you are developing any web application, definitely you would like to check on all the browser, all the operating system, all the types of devices, then only you can go for the testing. Otherwise, okay, I say it works only on the OS, I can test only on the Windows OS, I can install on the Windows OS, but don't know like whether it is going to work on the Mac or not, whether it is going to work properly on some other Unix based operating system or not. We want to check it and we want to install it. We need to check it because we are not sure about it in that case then. So our web testing, whenever you are going for our web application, and that web application should be tested across a browser as well as on the different types of devices, then only we go for that's the benefit. That's what we should be doing the testing. Otherwise, what's a benefit of testing if you are not testing it on the different devices and the different browser? Now Selenium supports mobile devices also. All the types of mobile devices it supports. I have already been like, there's a one component like APM. If you go for the Python APM will allow you to go for the mobile application testing, and there is a library which is a Selenium library in the APM now. So specifically those who are from the those who like to go for the mobile automation testing, they can go for this specifically the Android one or the iPhone, they can go for the one of the powerful tool which is available called APM, and it has a Python based library available as a Selenium library and allows you to test your mobile devices also. Very good. Like mobile application, I'm talking devices, I'm talking about here mobile application, not the devices. Okay, mobile application specifically, and then that helps you a lot. That's the APM is for specifically mobile application, but yes, those who would like to go for that, so there is a Selenium library included in the APM. QTP supports mobile application testing automation like iOS and Android using some solution called HP solution, that is a HP Mobile Center. Yes, it is there. It's a separate it's a proprietary of HP here. Now Selenium execute tests while the browser is minimized, and in the QTP case it need to have the application under the test to be visible on the desktop here. So here it is not necessary that you should be keeping some desktop open here and then only you should do testing. Nothing required in the Selenium. Your browser is minimized, still you can do the testing, and you do not require to check also, and need to give the report after testing it, and you can see the code, okay, it is tested or not. So that report can be checked. You will be seeing it practically all this thing now. Selenium allows you to execute the test parallelly. Here there's a execution in the parallel is possible, but using the quality center, which is again a paid product. Go for it. If you have the something like the license thing you want, go for it then. Now this was the introduction part of our Selenium. I tried to cover the basic or most important part, like what the Selenium is all about here. I hope you must have understood now what the Selenium is, when to go for Selenium, the benefits of Selenium, and the various components of Selenium here, who developed the Selenium, the Selenium IDE specifically. I say, like, if you do not have the programming skill, you can go for the Selenium IDE here, the benefits of Selenium IDE, the limitations of Selenium IDEs, and also we saw some Selenium RC component, that is the remote control component. We saw a little bit architecture about the RC component, whether you should go for RC component or not. So there's a choice now. So here, recommendation here, is Selenium Webdriver. Although I took all the four components, I took all the four components here, which is a part of Selenium again. But what is the recommended? So my recommendation here is Selenium Webdriver, and here we'll be using the Selenium Webdriver only. Then we also saw the Selenium Webdriver basic architecture, Selenium Grid. When to go for Selenium Grid now? So there is a question for you. When to go for Selenium Grid? Is it for testing, unit testing, or for the, or you can say the, or you like to go for the test suite here? Okay, so would you like to go for the, when to go for Selenium Grid now? That's a question for you. So let me tell you, you should be going for the Selenium Grid when you like to test, you want to do parallel testing, and that too test suite. At the same time, you want to test many more web components, and there you go for Selenium Grid. Very, very fast. But again, like if you are going for testing many more components at the same time, then only you go for Selenium Grid. So this was what we saw in the case of the Selenium Grid here. Then the summary here is like the Selenium supports, we saw like it supports the various platforms, it supports the various operating system, various browsers, supports multiple programming languages. It has a great testing framework available. There are so many things we saw in the introduction part of the Selenium here now. And now also we saw the limitations of Selenium and the benefits of Selenium over the KTP.